Here at the Perfect Lab Podcast, we're happy to introduce Whoosh Bespoke Wheels as a sponsor of the show. Whoosh Bespoke was born out of necessity. Their race team struggled to find wheels that offer the perfect fit, strength, durability, and that big old thing, a reasonable price. The people behind Whoosh Bespoke are racers and engineers seeking engineering excellence, and they offer precision forged wheels crafted by racers for racers, with a product lineup that includes a wide range of options from monoblock to modular wheels, including 2- and 3-piece wheel designs. All engineered from the finest materials, although they do primarily use 6061 T6 forged aluminum, but they do offer things as high of quality as a magnesium alloy. So this really can work for any setup you're trying to go for. Customization is at the heart of what they do at Whoosh Bespoke. You can tailor your wheels with custom sizes, offsets, finishes, and even options like custom lettering, adding two-tones. Their colors include both standard and premium finishes, as well as special finishes like brushed, hand-polished, and even paint to sample. Every set of wheels produced exceeds the JWL standards and meets the rigorous WCEC quality standards, and they are tested by real people with real cars racing all around the world. And guess what? Me and Kilgore, we're also going to be part of that team. So we're going to be putting these things to the test. We're putting them on our cars. Kilgore's going to be repping out and going through all the time attack season. I'm going to be beating them up at HPDE days and just having a good time with them. So I want you to go take a look at them and make sure you give them a follow on all their socials. It's whooshautomotive.com, Whoosh Automotive on all the socials. Go check them out. Welcome back to the Perfect Lab Podcast. I'm Mark Jager. He's Mark Kilgore. He goes by Kilgore. I go by Jager. And today, we're here with Jason Dienhart, the president of GTA Super Lap Battle. And we're going to be talking about Super Lap Battle, everything encompassing the best event in America at Circuit of the Americas. Jason, welcome. Glad to have you on the show. Super excited to talk about this event. It's one of the most spectacular events I've ever been to in my life. Kilgore, what do you think? One of the greatest?
The best. It is at the top of my list, and we're not saying it just because we have Jason with us. It is legit. You know, we both feel this. Yeah, I mean, last year was my first year to go to drive it, and I mean, it's top notch. COTA in and of itself is just an incredible venue itself. It's an incredible track. It just sets everything up to run really well. And then it just makes it easy for all of the spectators to come in. They can get close. They can see the cars. They can come in and talk to you. The way the event is run is high level, professional. It's mainly focused on time attack, which of course, as time attack drivers, we love. You get a ton of track time. So yeah, it is definitely the can't miss event in terms of, my own opinion.
So I'm a big chronological guy, so I have to ask the question, how did we get from basically backcountry cow turds track at Buttonwillow to time attack being at Circuit of the Americas at the greatest track of North America, in my opinion? How did we get there, Jason? How did you get us there?
I think it's everybody. The sport's growing slowly. It doesn't grow very, very quickly. But the level of the builds in the cars are so fast. And, over the years, the amount of professionalism that people bring, even if it is a grassroots team and effort, it just deserved it, So it was a matter of, putting together the right partners, getting commitments from enough drivers that it was worth taking on such a hefty endeavor, it being an F1 track, it being certified 365 days a year where an F1 team could go there and practice and it's always ready. It comes with a really hefty price tag. It's one of the most expensive venues, in North America to rent to throw a racing event. Starting out at Buttonwillow, that just has a lot to do with the fact that Super Street Magazine was heavily involved, Sport Compact Car Magazine, Turbo Magazine, in the first time attacks. And they were based out of Southern California. As you guys, or especially as Jager, there's only so many circuits out here. I think Buttonwillow was a pretty good choice, and it stuck, and again, that leads to the November event that we've been carrying on for Super Street. Last year was the 20th running of it, that we've been carrying that tradition on. GTA has been behind it for like the last 8 years or so. Yeah, I mean, fast forward, from, back then you talk about Buttonwillow was 2004, the first year that Super Street put that one on. And then you go to 2012, when Global Time Attack linked up with Super Street, and I see that trophy, I point, but the trophy that you got back there behind your mark was one of those years that we were doing the collaborative event with Super Street Magazine before things changed so much in their climate. And, we carried that on for a few years. And, it's funny, they asked me back then when they were kind of exiting, maybe that was around 2015, if I would ever take like the Super Lap Battle name to like a different track, and initially my first thought was like, oh no, we always do it here at Buttonwillow. That's what we call this, and it got so confusing for a while, it was like GTA Finals and Super Lap Battle, or, Super Lap Battle GTA Finals. And eventually it's like, what, let's do something big, and it was really Kit, from Project Import, really was a driving force behind like making that big leap to renting out COTA. He was like, let's go to World Time Attack Challenge. We went there in 2018, and we were just blown away by that event at City Motorsports Park. It's everything that one day I hope COTA to be, meaning Super Lap Battle COTA to be. It's our event on steroids. It's super rad. Best cars in the world, let alone the best cars in their country. They gather up once a year, and it's a magical weekend. Really awesome car show, really awesome drift show exhibition. And then every year he does something special on track. Like one time a plane landed. Another time he just had like a crazy display of horsepower. People just, all kinds of cool stuff. Anyways, we were inspired. I'm still inspired by it, to be honest with you. And that was kind of what pushed us over. Said, hey, let's get back and let's just go for it. And we started bugging COTA about getting a date. It took about a year, honestly, to kind of get them to understand what we're trying to do. And I think the first date, it was like early February. It was really cold. And the goal was always to get it in April, maybe even May. But their major events start in April, even into March. And we weren't considered a major event yet. We had to prove ourselves after a couple of years, and the attendance has grown, and it became a spectator event. As you noticed, Kilgore, when you were there, if you were just there in 2024, it was our latest event and most highest attended event as well. It's grown not a ton, but anywhere from like 800 to 1,200 spectators per year. And this past year, we were at about 7,000 people through the gate, 5,900, 6,000 paid. So that's 6,000 paid people around the Texas area, and around the Austin area that are coming to watch you guys, not me, you know what I mean? But to come watch the Time Attack drivers. I mean, you guys are the star at this event, which makes me so proud. And makes me want to cry, to be honest with you. I cry every time that we
and that's
roll into
that's the thing that
event. It's just like, wow. I mean, you said it, Kilgore, like being at that track is really what makes it, and it being close to the city is that there's a good opportunity to get a lot of people there, so there's a lot of cool factors with that one that come into play. It being an F1 course, it being in the middle of the country, there's a lot of things that help us, I think. It's just a matter of coming up with a way to pay for it each year. That part hasn't gotten really much easier. The popularity of the event's grown. And we are getting more drivers and, more participants. And like I said, I just was gloating or humble that we do have that many spectators showing up. But even with all that, it still doesn't pay the bill at that event. We still come up a little bit short. But man, it's worth it, and I think we'll get there maybe this year. And, Mark scared me earlier when he showed me the graphic. I think we're like 57 days out, which is amazing. But yeah, I'm hopeful that we'll get there this year. And that will just put us in a better position to where if we could put some money into marketing that event locally, some basic old school 101 things like flyering up the city. That city is a very big music city. That's still a good way that people communicate out there. A billboard or two near the track, some radio ads. We haven't done any of that stuff. It's all been just grassroots social media marketing and, relying on the social media reach and push of the drivers and also our sponsors, which is really what helped us get there today. And I'm just thankful every year that, we could say, okay, we're going to do it again. Let's fire it up again. We got another shot, for you guys to go fast and for us to pay for it. You know what I mean? So we could live another day and do it again.
Well, and I think, I'm speaking for all Time Attack drivers across the board here. We are vastly thankful that you take the time, effort, energy, money out of your pocket to put on such an amazing event for us. Definitely at one of the most prime locations. And I think most importantly, like one thing I appreciate out of all of this is you're not just talking about putting on an event and you go, okay, how could I make the most out of this? I could have everything under the sun and I could do all these crazy things and shy away from the important factor of Time Attack, right? You are continually keeping Time Attack on the main stage. Time Attack is that main stage, and you continue to push that as the item that you are saying, you need to come to this event to witness Time Attack glory. And you're not saying, oh, look, we're also doing these. Obviously, we're also saying, hey, there's drifting, hey, there's a car show, hey, there's these other things, and they do matter. But you're saying Time Attack is the pinnacle of this event. We are staying behind this. This is what we care about. This is what we love.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. I think that the that area of Texas there, I think because of the track, that there's maybe more motorsports fans there than some other areas possibly, and that's just kind of a guess for me. But the event does seem to be well received from people that didn't start off being Time Attack fans, but they've been to the track for a different event. And because they've been to the track, they look to other events that happen there, and ours being reasonably priced, they've given it a shot before. And I've heard this so many times from families and from different people that are like, I didn't really know a whole lot about these cars, but, I relate to them and they're really cool. And, damn, they're fast, and I got to give them that respect. And again, not for us, that's just trying to build up the community there locally and even just more so throughout the United States, that this is a cool thing to watch if you're a motorsports fan. And again, the cars are very relatable. Some of them can get a little spaceshipy, but at the same time, usually those are the ones that are really burning it up, which is cool. But for me, a big reason why I'm stuck on it is just
I think that's what people really like it, though, Jason. I think that's what people really like about it, is you have relatable to spaceship all in one venue, all in one thing, and it's a situation where like a lot of people can look at it from this perspective. I can go there and I can find a stock Mustang, and then I can see the guy who's literally put 2,000 horsepower into his Mustang with 15 different wings on it, front and rear, and they're gonna both be there, and they're gonna be something that I can look at, I can adore, I can say, this is awesome, this is crazy. And I think that's always what's gotten me about Time Attack as a whole, is it's not just a car that everybody's getting this. There's nothing wrong with racing and balance of performance and all the other stuff. I think that's really fun and cool, but I think it's really cool that Kilgore can build his car and I can build my car, and we're on completely different rails, and we can then go together and we can compete and say who's got the fastest driver, fastest car, so on and so forth.
Yeah, and it's like when you go up through the classes, it's like people's imaginations going wilder and wilder. Which I always find really cool. You know what I mean? Especially when you see someone that takes a car, even if you look at your Subi back in the day, on what it was at one point, and then what it became before you got rid of it. It was two different things, And for me, that's another joy, is watching those progressions of the cars, and the people too. I'm a stickler for going fast. I was a drag race guy. I was never a time attacker, but I was a drag racer. Import drag racing, which led me to working at Super Street, which led me to being a part of the first Time Attack event in production. It was something that fell under my wheelhouse. I was an event producer there. So going fast and event production are just two things that I'm super passionate about, which is the reason why I do it. It's I have a 1320 tattoo on my chest. If you guys don't know what that means, it's a quarter mile.
Well, we know.
And it's just in my blood. It's just something that I'm about. And I've been at the point for a long time. And it was really when I decided to start working at Super Street and give up drag racing. And that was like in the year 2000, 2001. You know what I mean? So it's been a long time that I've been on like this side of the guardrail.
Yeah.
Or hot pit lane.
And I think
it's been
that's
a long
something that a lot
time,
of people...
and I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? Like people ask me all the time, "Car do you have? Why don't you race?" Like I get my jollies off watching you guys do it. That sounds really bad, but I do. I'm totally fine with that. I don't really have a problem with it. And for me, there's just a bigger play of like
people really don't understand about you, Jason, is that they generally think of you as the event organizer, and they don't think of you as a guy who's really hyper into cars. They kind of exclude you from that conversation, and they just go, he's just putting on an event because, and believe me when I say this, I've literally heard people say like, Jason's making a killing off this. And it's one of those situations where it's like,
yeah, I really wish that's definitely not true.
I can say that I think Jason would probably have a way cooler car than the minivan I keep seeing him show up in.
Yeah, I know. Man, we finally got rid of that. The landlord here at where the office is, I think had it towed because it looked so wretched. And it was just sitting in the same parking spot for probably like 6 months. But no, I mean, I have a full-time job that has nothing to do with GTA. I usually have always had a full-time job. I have to eat. I have to make money somehow. I don't draw any kind of a salary or any money from Global Time Attack. Never have. All the people that you see that help GTA throughout the year, the John Villas, the Tonys, the Nymans, you know what I mean? Cuban, all these different people. Even you, Mark, you've experienced it. No one gets paid. Everybody's volunteering their time. I joke it's like I'm almost a cult leader that I've convinced all these people to ride with me and to do this thing, and it's for no money. It's just for the fun, which usually you see us fighting. You know what I mean? To try to get it right. You know what I mean? And to make these things come off on time and to be as flawless as we can get them. No, I'm definitely into cars. It's a big part of my life. I mean, I actually still work for Christian Rado, who I talked about earlier, I think maybe before we started this, but he was a big reason why we started Global Time Attack in the first place back in 2010. It was his seed money and a need that he had when Redline was going under. And that was a big reason why we started GTA back then. It was a place for a bunch of you guys to race when that thing was going away. I happened to be working at an ad agency at the time where we were doing some work for Nissan and also for Scion, which kind of tied us to Chris a little bit. I knew him from drag racing from years prior, so there was a trust there. And he was like, I don't know if you knew that Redline's going under, but we could put some money and some drivers together. Let's start a time attack, and that's how GTA got started. I don't even know if you were involved in that first phone call that we had. We had it here at World Racing at the shop, where we had some people call in and some people came and met us here. And it was like this whole thing, like, if we start this time attack series, like how many of you guys will go to some of these events? Because I don't want to throw a party and have no one show up. You know what I mean? And then boom, that was it. We started it. And then 2011, we had the first full season. And, I didn't know how long it would go on. And it didn't take long to just, for me to find myself back, to feel like I was in the drag racing days at LACR or at Pomona or at Bakersfield or, New Jersey, Ennis, Texas. We were all over the place back then. And I'm kind of reliving that and then trying not to make the same mistakes that import drag racing made and learn from that too.
Hey, that's one thing that's really hard to do. Obviously, it's tough out there, and it's tough to try to learn from those mistakes, not make those same ones, move on, build essentially build what you're building. And I want to kind of reiterate what you said before, right? There's a ton of people behind Global Time Attack that have given time, money, energy, all of those things that continue to make Global Time Attack essentially function and work. I know from all the years of going out there and seeing all these guys showing up, and like you said, they're not getting paid. I just remember, I mean, this is just me, but I remember Tony, where he's teching a car while he's trying to work on his own car to get it ready to go on track. And,
Yeah.
but he stops, gives the time to the other person, texts their car, gets it done, and then he gets back going on, on his car. And
That must have
at
been a
the
long
same
time ago
time,
because I haven't seen his car in a long time. Gotcha, Tony.
dang. But it is one of those things. Like, I mean, I've seen Tony. He's at these events and he's helping people work on a tune, right? That
Yeah.
obviously he didn't tune their car. He has no idea, and he's helping them work through issues and do all sorts of things. And he's not the only one. I've seen plenty of people on the GTA staff, be helpful to everyone out there at the track and help get them, through their good and bad times out at the track, as we all tend to have. So yeah, you got to commend those guys. Love their effort, love their abilities, love everything about those guys and coming out to the track and giving back to the sport. So again, applaud you, applaud your team. Can't thank you guys enough for putting on this amazing event. And I'm just gonna I'm gonna put it out there. I'm just gonna say, like you said before, just so everyone understands, we got 57 days. 57
Yes.
days
It's
till
coming.
this event
It's coming.
happens.
It's
So
coming.
everybody needs to get their stuff in order. I know. I've been there. So I'm going to tell this story. For me, I continually tried to bring my Subaru to this track, to this event. Multiple years in a row. I had a whole build-up montage on YouTube about how I was going to go to COTA, and I was super excited. I'm talking to Jason. I'm getting all the details. And we finally get a car ready a month ahead of time where we're like, we're definitely going. All we got to do is go do this one test day at Big Willow. We're going to put it at low boost, cruise around the track, make sure everything's good. Then we're going to head to COTA. This is going to be epic. And then we go to Big Willow. We drive the car around on low boost, thinking we're having a good time. And then we shoot a rod out the side of the block, and we have no block, no ability to go to this track. So needless to say, I excuse myself from that event again after multiple years of just not being able to make it. I did, as we talked about earlier, this is how I met Kilgore, is at COTA at Super Lap Battle. But I eventually got out there. Didn't really get to compete in the event, but I got to run the track. Got to do it in a GT3, so I'm not too mad about that. And just got to embrace the entire event as a whole, and being able to see this event and see how all the drivers got to react to it, and see how all the different interactions of the fans, the fan fest, the midday pit walk was just one of those things that you have to go and be a part of. It is, and I'm going to throw it over to Kilgore. He's actually, drove this event and done well at this event and had a good time at this event. So Kilgore, give us some insight on your side of the house as a driver at this event.
It's a bit indescribable. It's awesome. I want to go back to your point, Jaeger, about 57 days, which seems like a ton of time. But then I was like, okay, that's only like 8 weekends that I have to actually work on and get the car ready. Like Jason said, for most of us, a lot of drivers are working day jobs, right? There are plenty of shop cars, that show up, but a lot of people are also working day jobs. This is a bit of a hobby, and so when I look, like 8 weekends, doesn't seem like a lot of time to get everything ready. Which is, of course, why we always all show up. People still wrenching on cars, in the garages. But hey. It's still just such a fantastic event. I mean, the track does not disappoint, for sure. It is as you would imagine, right? It's a Formula One track. And I'll say one thing, which Jason, you were sort of hitting on earlier with the spectators. One of the biggest draws, I think, sure, I mean, the drifting, the time attack cars, being able to see those and get up close is fantastic. One of the biggest things I enjoy is that, like, if you're a spectator, if you've gone to some of the big races, you know that there's very little access, like, to the interior of the track and to really get into where the garages are, where the, like, hospitality suites are, right, and all that kind of stuff. I went there one year with Formula One, right, and, like, unless you're paying big money, you're not even getting close. But with this, like, even as a spectator, you for the most part have full access to the venue, right? You can get in to the garages, you can see the cars, you can walk up and down pit lane, as Jager just said, with the pit walk on I think is it Saturday or Sunday afternoon? Can't remember which one it is.
It's Sunday afternoon. I'm thinking about doing it Saturday
Yeah,
and Sunday this year.
okay, yeah. But I mean, it was awesome seeing how many people are just lined up. Like, you can kind of stick your phone up and take a picture, and all it is just a sea of people down down the pit lane, and everybody pulls their cars out, which it's just super cool. It's super fun, and it can really, especially as a driver. And Jason, this was something I sort of noticed that you really pushed, and I'm glad you do it, which is you kind of tell drivers, like, look, you guys need to be drivers. And this is something that Jager and I have done an episode on, which is, trust us, we're professionals, but, like, you want, act professional, act like a driver, have your race suit on, let people know that you're a driver, this is your car. I mean, you can be having a bad weekend. I won't say what Kyle McHugh said, but your tune, right, can be messed up. Your car can be messed up. Everything can be messed up. But, like, for one little kid who comes up and he gets to sit in your race car, it can make the entire weekend. And
Yeah.
I think that's the coolest thing is, as a driver, being there, being able to see all these people come by and they're excited. And it gets you excited, and it also sort of motivates you to an even higher level to want to push, to want to do well. So, I mean, it's just a fantastic event, spectator-wise, driver-wise, and of course, it speaks for itself in that you have the fastest cars in the U.S. coming to that event, and that's the main event that people want to try and make. So, I'm excited to see what happens this year, see who all comes out.
Same here, and to even touch more on what you said, it's not just a great weekend for the drivers too. If it ends up just being a cool interaction, that kind of makes the weekend for you. If the on-track stuff, you weren't really getting what you wanted, but it might change that kid's life, not to get corny, but I mean, it's a big reason why that event's also very special. There's a big picture thing to it because we are growing the spectator count there and there are so many kids there. We're helping hopefully, nourish motorsports minds and people that want to get into the sport and especially even into our discipline, meaning time attack. That would be great. And with it being so accessible, it's so much easier to change a kid's life because they can sit in a car. They can meet you, you know what I mean? And it doesn't cost their parents an arm and a leg, to get down there. And it's a big thing, again, that I hear from locals is exactly what you touched on. Is like, we can get around and walk around here and it's a great day and it's not costing us too much money. And, I could bring my kids and it's just really accessible. So yeah, that's a really cool thing about it. It's nice to hear that.
Hitting also something on what Jager said, which I think is also cool, is you can have Ferris's Corvette and the Life Motorsports GTR, right? These crazy builds, but you can also have those next to fairly stock Mustangs, right? Or Supras or Civic Type Rs, and it lets people sort of understand, like, look, this is accessible, right? Like, you can go purchase a fairly reasonable car and come out here and participate. It kind of gives people an understanding of, the gambit of different cars that come out, and hopefully they realize, like, like, I've always been interested. Maybe it gets them interested in taking their Corvette, Mustang, whatever, right out on track, being like, hey, I can come back here and do a track day. And then we all know, right? That's how we all got started. That
Yep.
you get that hook in you, and then you're addicted, and you end up
Yep.
now, building your car and spending more money than some of us want to, but we still have a great time doing it.
Well, and I also want to just say, like, one thing that kind of blew me away going to the event last year was the autograph signing for the drivers. That's just something that doesn't happen at any other event that I've been to in Time Attack. It's really awesome for the drivers, right? You get to really feel that, like, special ambiance there, and like we were talking about, right? It's teaching these guys also how to be that professional, how to be there and interact with fans and stuff like that. So you're putting out an event that is also a learning environment for these drivers at the same time. And so you're having to teach them things like marketability. You're having to teach them, personality skills for some of them. You're having to teach them all these extra little tidbits for them to come out to this event and be successful. And again, that's just something, I mean, that's more workload for you guys, but I think all these drivers really need to appreciate that. And that's why this is such an awesome event for these guys to go to. And I think, day in, day out, like, this is an event that anybody in Time Attack right now, if you're missing this event, you're insane. This is absolutely the event to go to in the year for Time Attack. And believe me when I say this, I was a naysayer. Before last year, I was the guy, whenever I heard the word Super Lap Battle, I go, yeah, that's at Button Willow. I don't know what's going on at COTA. Like, I was always that guy who was always like, history. So I was always a bit of a naysayer. And then I went, and like you said, to me, like, just seeing the people, the crowds of people, to see the pit walk and how many people came out to check out the cars and what's going on, and then the driver autograph portion, that to me, like, everything just came together, and I went, wow, like, this is something that I didn't think was possible on a Time Attack scale. So for you guys, and I know you said, you took a lot of inspiration from World Time Attack and what you saw based on that inspiration. And obviously, like, people like me and Kilgore have watched World Time Attack for years, and again, have always gone like, wow, that's insane that they can do this crazy event. And you're trying to bring that here, and you absolutely are. So again, I'm just from our podcast to GTA and Super Lap Battle, we're super thankful that you are doing that and championing the Time Attack realm. So with that said, I'll ask you this. So who are some of the people that are helping you? Who are some of the sponsors? Who are some of the partners in Super Lap Battle that are kind of helping you guys put this event on?
Well, I think first I'll talk about a new sponsor this year to us, 812 Wheels. They are a forged wheel company, racing wheels, custom wheels, based out of Texas. And they recently came on as the title or presenting sponsor. So it's, Super Lap Battle presented by 812 Wheels. They're an affiliate of Rafa Racing, and Rafa Racing was at that level last year. So they're part of that family, which is great. Matt Davis over there, Turner Dobbins. I've been working closely with those guys, and super stoked. That's a new partner coming in at a big level, presenting level at Super Lap Battle, and an official sponsor for the rest of the events that we do in the Global Time Attack season. And then, Garrett, Gary, Garrett Turbo, Garrett Advanced Motion, it's a proper name nowadays, or it has been for a long time. They've been a supporter of GTA. Gosh, I'd probably say they're the longest standing sponsor that we've had. I believe they came on probably 2012 or 13 as a sponsor. It might even been the first year in 2011. I'd have to look back, but it's a long time running. I mean, that's really cool.
That's an awesome relationship there.
Link ECU management, they're still on board as our official ECU partner They were a sponsor a long time ago and kind of took a sabbatical for a couple years and got really heavy into drifting. And this past couple years, they've been working with us again, which is great. So, they're always looking for teams and cars to work with. So reach out to me if you don't know anybody at Link, and we'd love to connect a good time attack team with them. And then Ray's Wheels, someone that's been around with us for a long time as a sponsor. Awesome racing heritage, obviously, with Ray's. So yeah, that's always a good one. And yeah, it's about it in terms of like sponsorships. Other than that, there's private donors out there too that don't need to be mentioned. But no, it's a big family. It takes everybody. The things that you mentioned that kind of make the Super Lap Battle event unique at COTA are things that we should be replicating everywhere. And yeah, there is a little bit of an education there. It's like, this isn't, especially the COTA event, it's not a track day. Like, get a racing suit, wear it all day. Oh, well, they don't know who I am. Guess what? They're never going to even know you're a driver if you're not wearing your racing suit. When you go to World Time Attack Challenge, none of those guys take their driving suits off the whole day that they're at the track. Even if they're not going to be in the car for a couple hours, they're walking around to go get lunch. They're in the driving suit. Guess what? Well, because that must be somebody over there. If we're just looking like this, they don't know who we are.
Exactly.
So that's a really big part of it. Is let's especially at that venue, let's put the tuxedo on, brush your hair.
I'm also going to caveat that with, when you go up to the podium, wear your racing suit.
Yeah, especially. I mean, dude, you're on the F1 podium up there. You know what I mean? Like, let's look the part.
I'm like, I don't know why anyone would want to hit that podium without a racing suit on. Again, I'm jealous as all get out. I'm absolutely jealous of anyone who gets to stand on that podium in a racing suit and gets to take a picture and get to have that picture for the rest of their lives, because that is just an amazing photo to have. Like,
you should want your racing suit to smell like champagne. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
That should be a good thing. Don't be coming here being like, oh, I'm gonna have to wash my suit. No, you should want your race suit to smell like champagne.
I saw a perfect meme for this the other day, where it's it's showing sports, basketball, football, all these other sports, spraying champagne. They start putting on goggles, and they show like Alonso, and he's just drenching himself. Racing drivers, different breed. That's what we are. That is what it is. So again, we talked about the sponsors. We talked about what's at the event, the car shows, the drift, the time attack, of course. So quickest and easiest way to sign up, Jason. What are we signing up for? How are we signing up?
So we have two websites. We have the globaltimeattack.com website, which covers everything that we do as a sanctioning body in a series. You could find the event calendar on there for the COTA event, and get signed up. You could also be on what you're showing right now, which is superlapbattleusa.com. Ticketing info is on there. You can see that's been updated. I did that the other day. At the bottom of the page, like the bottom header, we're not looking at it right now, but there is a registration link, Time Attack registration, very bottom middle under quick links. If you click that, it probably takes you to the GTA page to fill out it's basically like a preliminary entry form. Basically what I'm trying to do is just make sure I'm not sending the link out to people that don't have enough driving experience. If you're doing Time Attack the safe and correct way, it's a really funny business model. You're turning people away. You don't want too many drivers on the course. It's just totally wacky in terms of trying to make money if you're doing it right and not overcrowding. So yeah, I don't want to waste anybody's time and have to refund someone if someone did not have enough driving experience and they signed up and they paid for the event. That would be kind of a hassle. So we try to screen everybody by have them just fill out some quick information and driving experience. If everything looks good, we send them a link to actually sign up for the event. It's on Motorsports Reg, which most people use. We're on there, but the event currently is private. It's not invite only. Okay, so anybody is invited to come run. If you personally need an invite, let me know. I will do it. I will invite you. But otherwise, like I said, you can go to either website, superlapbattleusa.com or globaltimeattack.com. And if you can't find it, you can email me, jd@globaltimeattack.com, and I'll get you set up.
Yeah, and I will say, from driver's perspective, again, Kilgore could probably second this by far. But we vastly appreciate you guys taking that time to ensure that people aren't signing up for that event that really shouldn't be there. Because if anybody, I've definitely ran in events where I went, man, that guy not quite ready for this. And with those people that show up, and we want people to get involved in the sport. We want them to be there, but that shouldn't be their very first track day. If you're trying to get acquainted with those type of things,
joke around and have fun and whatnot. But what you guys are doing out there couldn't be any more serious than what it is. I mean,
yeah.
Building cars on our own and driving them as fast as you could go.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to be safe. We are very strict on safety. I mean, again, to our detriment, we turn people away, piss people off because they're okay with not being as safe as they should be. Safety is a big deal. And yes, of course, driving experience is a big deal too.
I think that comes to play even at a little bit higher level when you're at a track like COTA, because I mean it is a big track, and even if you're experienced, right? Even if you're the Tanner Faust of the world who showed up last year, running a Porsche Cup car, it's still a bit wide-eyed when you actually get out on that track for the first time and you really start pushing, right? Like you have to focus, you have to have all your focus out there. And for amateur, I mean, especially for amateur drivers, right? We don't quite have that full set of bandwidth that a professional driver does. And the other thing with COTA is there's not many places to, you really have to be aware of your mirrors. There's not many places where the track loops back on itself so you can sort of see who's behind you or who's in front of you. So you really have to be aware of the faster cars that are coming through and knowing what you're doing on a cool down lap, who's on a cool down lap. And that just takes experience and knowing when and where to get out of the way, how to get out of the way. And it's just turned up that much more when you're at that big of a track at COTA. So I think, to your point, it takes a little bit. We hate to turn people away, but it takes a little bit more vetting because we want everyone to be safe. We want the new drivers to be safe. We want the veteran drivers to be safe, right? We just trying to create a safe environment. Of course, first and foremost, that's what needs to be top of mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Big time. All right, Jason. So what other events are you going to have this year with GTA?
Well, we kick off the year with our biggest event. It's kind of a NASCAR thing, I guess, even though we're nothing like them. But kick off the year with the big event. April 12th and 13th, we're at COTA, and we call that Super Lap Battle. And this year it's a little bit different than it has been in the past, and we'll get to that in a second. But next event is August 16th and 17th at the Ridge Motorsports Park up in Washington State. We have a nice relationship with that track, somewhat of a partnership, which makes it a little bit easier for us to get up there and do that thing. Been trying to build out that area in terms of like regional time attackers from the Pacific Northwest. Try to do a cool event there once a year, give them a reason to build a car and to, do other track orgs throughout the year, building up to what we do when we come there once a year. And then, of course, you get a few of them that want to go to COTA, or want to go to Buttonwillow, or want to go to a different event that we do, which we've seen. Like the guy with the pickup truck. We met him the first time up there, and his brother with the old Chevy Bel Air. Sometimes you meet some really hardcore time attackers that are like, hey, we want to join this traveling circus, And then after Ridge Motorsports Park, straight to November at the old SLB, GTA finals at Buttonwillow, Clockwise 13. So there's 3 events on the schedule this year. Little low. We've done that a couple times before throughout the years. It's usually 4, 5, sometimes 6 events, which is a little much, especially with COTA being such a big one. You'll notice that the traditional or annual May Mother's Day weekend Road Atlanta event is not on the schedule.
That's been
first year. So that's called
point there.
Yeah, that's called Drift Atlanta. That event is Drift Atlanta. It's a Formula Drift and Road Atlanta event partnership. And so if you know racing, we're considered a support series at that event. And the first year we joined it was back in 2012. And it was awesome to, have an opportunity to be at that track. And at the time frame, being there as a support series worked because it meant that the rental, I was just renting track time, even though it was very expensive, but it was renting track time as opposed to renting the whole facility, like how we do when we do COTA or we do Buttonwillow or we do the Ridge. Back then, we wouldn't be able to afford to do it. And of course, being a support series during a Formula Drift event when there's like a built-in audience of like 15,000 people there or 20,000 people kind of seemed like, oh, no brainer, let's do it. So getting in there was awesome. We were getting high car counts. I should say max car counts for the amount of track time that we have. And Jager's been in that event back in the day. And
I went there 2 times.
Yeah, and if you remember the way that it is, because we're a support series, it's not a typical like 8-hour track day run for us of it being hot. It's like super short. So we would start at 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday and we'd be done at 1:30. And on a Saturday, we'd start at 8 in the morning and be done at like 1 p.m. And for people out there that don't know, Formula Drift traditionally does their events day 1 Friday, and then day 2, their final day is Saturday, like afternoon into the evening, and then their event's done. They don't do anything on a Sunday. So a lot of like racing events are Saturday, Sunday. They always do Friday, Saturday is what they do. So that event was always a Friday, Saturday. Being done so early, it was hard to justify charging, a really high registration fee because, your drivers weren't getting as much track time as you typically would. But it worked. It worked for a long time in terms of being at such a prestigious track like Road Atlanta outweighed the fact that it was an expense, So that event for GTA was always, we chummed it up to being a marketing expense because it cost us money to be there. Even if we maxed out at having 60 drivers, and the amount of track time that we have is only 3 run groups. So I'm packing it on day 1 with 20, 20, 20, or 22, 18, 16, or if that math might be off, but you follow what I'm trying to do. Put a little bit less in group 1. And Jager, that track with quick cars in one group in a 15-minute session, it really shouldn't be more than about a dozen to 14, 15 cars max. So day 1, we were pushing it. And of course, there's a time attack attrition that happens. And by day 2, there'd be only 40 odd cars, and then it'd be much more manageable on day 2. Doing a live stream at that event, what that track rental cost me, even getting 60 drivers, I was still we're still coming out of pocket like 25 grand each year. The last couple of years, because we've had less drivers, because it's not the track's still prestigious, but back then, there was no way to time attack at that track. The only time attack was like once a year. Now there's multiple organizations you can go there and time attack at different times throughout the year.
More options.
So that changes the climate a little bit, you know what I mean? Not for heavy hitters, but for, guys on the peripheral. And that's a business thing, and that's fine. So the last couple of years it's been really tough to where that number wasn't 2025, it was $35,000-$40,000 to do that event that we weren't getting back. And it's robbing COTA, and it's robbing the next event. And that's the way it's been the last couple of years. And I'm a sucker for nostalgia, and I'm a sucker for Road Atlanta. I love that place. I love that track. I love the people there. And it's going to hurt not being there this year. Cry again. So, it sucks, but I want to live another day with GTA. And sometimes you're going to make hard decisions, and that's a hard one. Tough.
Well, you and Jackie Ding are symbiotic in your love for Road Atlanta. That is for sure. Jackie Ding said his favorite track.
JDs stick together.
Said that is his favorite track of all time, which I still cannot freaking believe.
Jager took some heat.
But it is one of those things. I went to that event twice, and I will say to kind of follow up with your words, and I've talked to people about this in the past. When I went there on that first year, I just didn't do my research. I didn't know kind of what I was getting into. And so when I got there and I went, wait, we only go till 1 o'clock. I'm trying to
Yeah.
learn this track. I have no idea. Like, it was kind of a mind blowing situation of like, oh
Well, you know
man,
what a
I have
bummer
to.
about it too, like all these years, like they don't even let the spectators in for Formula Drift until like noon.
Yep.
So it's like we're ending, you know what I'm talking about? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like the whole thing of like, oh, we're there together at the same time. It's never exactly jived, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So again, that kind of made it to where, you know, you start to add some of those things up and it made it a little bit easier to finally pull the trigger on it to get out of that weekend. But I told Road Atlanta, you know, at the end of the day, we're out of the Drift Atlanta weekend, but we're not out of the Road Atlanta business. You know,
Yeah.
we'll get back there again one day. When I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's just got to be a different situation to where I could put Time Attack in a better light and have it be more of a focal point of the weekend. So what does that mean? That means either I figure out a way to pay for us owning the whole weekend and building out something like what we do at COTA or like what we do at the Ridge, or finding a different partner to work with where we're more like an equal billing and we're running throughout, you know, the whole meat potatoes of the day and not just at, you know, really early in the morning. Um, I just want to do what's right by our scene and by all of us. You know what I mean? And
And that's where
I couldn't
the
afford to
guys.
do that one anymore like that. And I kind of figured that money that we're losing there, you know, it was lost money, so it's not found money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If anybody understands what that means, it's not like all of a sudden we have $40,000 to spend. It's all of a sudden now I'm not out 40 grand at the end of the year and figuring out a way how to live. Um, but it's going to ease some pain financially to where it's going to help us make a move. Is that move back at Road Atlanta? Maybe. Is the move a different really cool track? Is it, you know, putting marketing into COTA maybe the year after? It's something that will benefit the scene, that's for sure. I've got to figure out exactly what's right. But continuing to be there is going to eventually really hurt us long term. So we had to get out of that. So yeah, it sucks. But, you know, I hope one day that, you know, Rick, who runs the track there, that one day Rick and I can figure out something that works for both parties to where we can throw a really cool Time Attack thing there, you know, and maybe at the end of the day, Road Atlanta gets, you know, they didn't lose something, but maybe they'll gain another cool weekend. You know,
Yeah.
it just might have to be in 2026 or it might be 2027 to be honest with you. But you know, we've been doing this for a long time. I don't really plan on stopping. So
Well, and I think as you know, Time Attack goes, Time Attack drivers. To me, I see a lot of respect there. You're trying to ensure that the Time Attack again is at the forefront of the billing, and obviously there's nothing bad about trying to use drifting to promote Time Attack, but I just don't think that you were getting that reciprocal like the expectation was hoping to give you, and it makes sense. Like you said, you know, let's live for another day. Let's work in another way. Um, take that, you know, take what money you can and move it into other areas.
yeah,
And yeah, I know the Southeast is going to be, you know, out a really cool event. Obviously, they're still going to be doing things out there, so it'll be cool.
yeah,
But at the same time, you know, I think by you being able to take that energy, that focus, and put that more into things like Coda, I think that just makes that event have an even more, you know, larger implication of what it could be.
yeah.
So
You
what
know,
else
the,
you got
the
for
thing is doing these events. It's like navigating something large. Like it doesn't. It would be slow on track. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't move quickly. You know what I mean? Because there's not a lot of money in it. You know, so things move real slow. Um, but trust me, I'm talking to so many different track operators all the time. There's always different conversations and ideas, and even other organizers around the country. There's always little things about like, you know, hey man, do you ever think that this could work? So, you know, there's a couple things that we're in each other's ear, some different people that could even happen this year. And you know, something different could happen next year. I don't know. You know what I mean? What I do know is that we're always digging and trying to figure stuff out, you know, if there's something out there. Um, so that's really all I can say about that.
So I will say this. I think me and Kilgore are looking at the schedule for GTA. We obviously already knew you had dropped Road Atlanta, but when we did our original overview of Time Attack for this year, originally you had 4 events.
Yeah.
Now we're down to 3. So So what happened to PPIR?
Oh, that was a pretty big surprise to me. Um, so I'll give some background like really quick. So we do have a lot of opportunities to just jump on and do, be a part of different events and things like that. But we don't do them because I want to make sure if we're going to invest in an area that there's legs, like there's longevity, there's a plan, you know what I mean, to be in that area for a long time. So, again, I go back to like the Ridge Motorsports Park. We've been investing with that track, in that region since 2019 now, I think. Is it paying off? No. Is it getting closer?
But it is an awesome track.
Yeah, it is. It
is
getting
an
closer.
epic
And
track.
it's a really cool track. That's the thing. It's just in the corner of the United States, but that's a whole other conversation. But it goes back to like, if you're going to do something somewhere, I don't want it to be one and done. Especially because we're not making money on it, right? But like, if I'm doing it, I want to make sure that we're building out that area and that we're giving somebody that's driving distance from that track a reason to build a time attack car too. Okay, not just reliant on you guys to drive from where you guys live to go there. Otherwise, there's never enough of you. It's too expensive and there's too many options. So I was hesitant about joining the PPIR event last year because I gave that whole song and dance I just gave you and the audience, about I'm afraid of doing these things unless there's a bigger play in it, longer term, to give ourselves a runway to try and succeed. What is that? It's usually like 3 to 5 years, to be honest with you, before you can really look at something and say, okay, this is not going to work and here's why, or this is going to work and here's why, let's keep going, right? That's what I thought that we had there. But they had a big change at the top of their management, and the guy that was the GM of the track ended up leaving about, I might get mixed up on the dates here, but I think it was like right at the turn of the year. So right around January 1st weekend, or that first weekend. So up to that time, the conversations that I had with that current GM, we're locking in the date that was on the website, and I was starting to build it out. We had the Motorsports Reg thing built out and whatnot, so people could register. And then, a couple of weeks went by. So now we crept into end of January. Haven't heard from anybody yet. And all of a sudden I get a text from the COO of the track, who I've never had a phone conversation with or anything like that. Just met him at the event a couple times. And he was like, hey, I need to talk to you, so I'm like, okay, seems important, so anyways, gave him a call. And then, he proceeded to tell me that it was never in ownership's plan to continue on with the Ascend event the way that they did it the first 2 years. The first 2 years being Time Attack the Star, it being a competition format type weekend. So he said, hey, I told everybody that I didn't want to do it like this because, we did it 2 years in a row. We weren't a part of the first year. They did it on their own. And they had their own time attack classes and stuff like that. They felt like they had a need to have someone come in there and create a classing system. We linked up. Why not just use ours, make it one of our events, blah. That's how we got in there. That's how it ended up happening. Kind of, seemed to work. And if you go back to what I was talking about, really, it's hard to do these events because they don't make money. It's another reason why, it's not that easy just to say, oh, sure, I'll just go rent this track. Well, because you have to come up with a bunch of money to do it, right? Well, they made it so easy for us to get in there because we were solving a pain for them, which was bringing the competition element in, and we were going to come operate it. And they solved a pain for me, which is, track rental fees up front, all kind of stuff like that. So back to the phone conversation a few weeks ago, he was like, hey, because it didn't make enough money again, I got to change up the plan. I'm not going to do it 3 years in a row and do the same thing and have it not work. I'm like, man, I understand. I'm not mad at you. I just wish I was talking to you a year and a half ago the whole time. You know what I mean? Because I feel I'm a pretty good salesman. I think I could have sold him on the fact that let's start the runway now once GTA is involved. Scrub last year. You know what I'm talking about? Let's start a new runway. I think I could have got him on that because I almost got him to change his mind on the phone call, but it didn't work. And they want to do like just more of a fun music slush style thing, you know what I mean? Where it's just all fun and, and no competition element. And they think that not they think, but he's got proof because when they do those types of events, they get a lot more spectators. And for him, he's got to turn a profit. With GTA, I should turn a profit, but we don't. So that's not a big driver for me. A big driver is, do we have a chance to win here? You know, do I feel good about this? You know what I mean? Our drivers, is it good for the scene? That track, you know, when it comes down to it, am I going to miss being at that racetrack? No, because it wasn't a super sexy circuit for time attack racing, you know? But what made it cool for the scene was that the track was putting up $50,000 as a prize purse for a time attack. No one's ever done that, and nobody ever maybe will, unless we could find someone to help do that. But anyways, not to joke about it, but yeah, they were doing something that's really cool, and you know, with the prize money. So for me, it was like, dude, I've got to get involved with that. You know what I mean? Why wouldn't I? That's good for the drivers. You know, it's good for the scene. It might be something that gets people talking, like in a really big way. It might inspire a different sponsor or a different track that want to figure out a way to try to put up money like that too. You know, I just, you know, sometimes I'm going to take a stab at something and, you know, maybe I was wrong, you know what I mean? But, I was trying to build something out there with those guys and they don't want to do it no more. And I was kind of left like, oh, okay. Yeah. And, so that wasn't a part of my plan this year whatsoever. So I'm still figuring out what to do.
Bingo card, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. But you know, it's crazy, man. It's like, that's events, that's especially racing events, you know? And when you're partnering up with somebody, business, marriage, whatever, I mean, you're reliant on what they want to put into it. You know what I mean? And if he's not down with it anymore, then they're not down with it anymore. It's okay. You know, so yeah, you know, what are we going to do? I don't know. You know what I mean? In terms of like, I know I'm not going to make a rash decision, you know, and just jump in and go do something just for the sake of like throwing an event on the board. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to throw this out to you. There's this new track at Buttonwillow that has no time attack events at it yet.
God, not another Buttonwillow track. Not another Buttonwillow event.
I mean, same weekend. We could do, you know, you could have same weekend, one day, one track. I don't know. But, I mean, realistically.
We'll definitely have to do something there eventually, you know. I guess in hindsight, if I would have known all this was going on, it would have been on the schedule for this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To at least try it out. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe you'll see it pop up.
You know, at the end of the day, go ahead, Kilgore.
Well, I was gonna say, sometimes, you know what? Maybe you just need to reduce the supply a little bit to reinvigorate that demand, right?
No, that's true too. You know, that's true too. Especially, you know, quality over quantity. You know, so I don't want to get caught up in like some knee-jerk reaction like, oh, no, just for the sake of having something and having this number, let's just put it up there and do it. And, you know, again, it's energy, it's time, it's money. And then it's also, you know, leaning on like, and I say you guys and you, the audience, you know, the drivers out there, leaning on you guys to come out and support these things. And it's like, is it the right decision for everybody? You know what I mean? Every time, you know what I mean? So I want to think about that too, because it's not just my money that I'm putting down the line and 812's money and Garrett's money and Ray's investment, you know what I mean? But it's all you guys' too. I mean, without the registration money, these events don't happen, you know? So, I mean, you guys are really a big part of how these things happen. You know, it takes both of us.
Well, it's great for the drivers to know that that's on the forefront of your thought when you're making these decisions. I mean, obviously, when you were thinking about going to COTA, it's that same concept. You were thinking, how could I make this the pinnacle, the stage that all time attack drivers want to go to? You were thinking of the drivers, first and foremost. Mm-hmm. Then you thought, how the hell do I pay for this thing? Right? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, you know, like going with you guys, going up to the ridge, at first, again, I was a little bit of a naysayer, and why are we going to the corner of the U.S.? You know, what's going on here? And I got there, started talking to some of the drivers, seeing how excited they were, and then get on the track. And again, it's one of those tracks where that's a track that, that's not a track that you're going to see NASCAR and F1 and IndyCar run on. But let me tell you, it's a track that I dearly want to run on. I thought that track was absolutely amazing. And we have tracks across the U.S. that are absolutely like that. And don't get it twisted. One of the reasons why I went to Road Atlanta twice was the prestige and the historics behind that track. And
Yep.
and that's where I bounce back and forth. I think a track like Button Willow has its charm and its ability, and now it has history behind it with Time Attack. And at the same token, some track like The Ridge, to me, that's a very like, it's a Time Attack centric track. And I
Yeah.
do go down that path with, COTA, where I go, that's just a historic and amazing track that makes people want to go there. And when we're trying to invite people from other countries and try to get there, as a whole community, you got to have a track like COTA. And at the same time, you got to have the Ridges and the Button Willows, and for other series, things like Gingerman, you got to have those tracks, because that's what's going to get people involved. Those local tracks. I always go back to, Willow Springs being my home track. It's a track that, like, if you go and tell people like Willow Springs, they're going to go, yeah, it sucks. Got it. But at the end of the day, when you're talking about like Time Attack and things like that, that had always been a part of Time Attack, going to streets, going to big, and doing those tracks. And one of the reasons why is the cost, right? The cost was low enough to keep it so that the Time Attack organizers could get in, and the dates were available, and they could get in. And that's how, for someone like myself, and I always say this, Jason, this is just, my interpretation, because this is how it happened to me. Like, one of the things that I always loved is the fact that back in the day, and I know you probably didn't love it so much, but the Pro-Am stuff, right? The Pro-Ams, the events, you guys were putting on multiple events, you were all over Southern California, which gave me the capability to keep going to events, to keep mastering my craft as a driver, as a team owner, as all those things, and trying to hone in my abilities to be able to do all of these things. And that's where sometimes I wonder for the new teams coming up, and like someone like Kilgore here. So Kilgore is now participating in SCCA, GTA, and Grid Life throughout the year, just so he can kind of hone that craft and be a part and do Time Attack as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like that's going to be more and more the case, versus like when GTA was very at home in Southern California and was growing these people. And that's where, and I'm just going to throw this out as an idea, and a not an idea, but just a thing to you. What do you think, and from your perspective, how do you think these Time Attack drivers are growing per se? Like, what's going to make them come to a GTA event and then make them continue to build that car to participate in these GTA events?
Well, okay. If once they've caught the bug, but we're going to catch the bug at an event, at some type of track day or something to that, basically being at a racetrack, or at least like an autocross or something like that. So yeah, I'd probably say accessibility, having the option to be able to go to these things, in any sport. If you don't have a way to ever get to play it, how do you really, hone your skills in that sport, So motorsports is not any different.
And that's why I think the live stream and the accessibility of the tracks, to me, like the live stream, I know at the end of last year finals, we ended up not having a live stream for finals, and obviously there was probably a flood of people in your inbox asking like where it went. And it's just one of those things, people want to watch it, and I understand, if you go look at the viewership, it probably doesn't exactly extend to kind of what I'm saying.
No, the viewership ain't that bad. It's just that it's free, to watch, but it costs about like $25,000 to have done. And if there's not 80 of you guys signing up for the event, even with 80 signing up, it still doesn't break even. But if there's only like 50 of you guys signed up, like there was, then that means it's another event where I'm out 25 grand, because it didn't even sniff paying for that part of it. You know what I mean? So it was like, on that one, it was like, you know what? If I don't pull it, I'm going to be so unhappy. I don't know what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? So I was like, I have to pull it, because it was putting me in a bad mood. You know what I mean? Like, not being able to pay for it. And then that just means that I would be still having to figure out a way to pay for it to this day. You know what I mean? While I'm trying to figure out a way to pay for, the next event, So, I mean, that's how these things are
out there. We got to get people out signing up for Time Attack events, showing them this great sport that we love, and showing them that it's accessible, right? Like you can come out with a daily driver, you can come out with any of these cars that you've built over the years. It's accessible, guys. It's available to you. Don't feel like you need to be the fastest guy out there. You got to get out there, you got to participate, then you build, then you grow, then
Yeah.
as it moves on, right?
I still
Be
hear
a
a lot
part
of
of the
people that are
scene.
worried about coming out with a car that they feel won't be on pace for the class that it's in due to whatever
Yeah.
reason, because they don't realize that we put the cars out on track by speed index in the groups and not by the class that they're in. So let's just say, if you're someone that's like, oh, I have to be in limited class for whatever reason with my car, but it's nowhere near as fast as the top 10 guys in limited class. And it's like, no, if you're that slow, you're going to be in group 3 or group 4, which is going to be with other cars that are running similar lap times as you. And they might be from the street class or the enthusiast class. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
That's a big thing. I was answering a question the other day through email. They were concerned about that. And it's like, nope, speed index, you be safe out there no matter what time that you run when we adjust it throughout the weekend.
And that's why they got to get out there. They got to be out to these events. They got to see how they run. Again, guys, you can come out to these events. You can be a part. This isn't a blocked off F1 event where you don't get to take part and see everything as a whole. You can come watch Cuban ridicule people to death as he techs their car and makes fun of them. That's part of the fun. Get out there, hang out, and then get to know these guys, right? Like that's part of the fun of all this is getting to be part of the group, get to be entwined in the Time Attack lore as it is. I highly recommend every single one of you to get out to this freaking event as soon as possible. Any of these events, realistically. But I'm gonna say this again. I'm gonna share this again. 57 days, 7 hours. April 12th, April 13th, 2025, Super Lap Battle at COTA. That is Circuit of the Americas. Amazing track. All the corners, all the straightaways, all that straight in, all that top end speed needed. Kilgore, we got to get Kilgore signed up. He's being lazy over there. He's going to have to sign up for the world, man. He's going to have to run the glory for the Perfect Lap podcast and make sure that, he can represent us very, very well at the event. At the end of the day, we're going to talk about this event quite a few times throughout the next few months. And, we're going to do a recap of it. We're going to do a preview of it. We're going to try to talk to some other drivers. But I will say this. We're probably not going to talk to another person that is as passionate about Time Attack as Jason. Jason has given us everything he has in the last, decade or more to Time Attack. He's given everything he has to get this event off the ground. He's given us everything he has to keep Super Lap Battle, to keep finals, to keep these events moving and growing. And, we can't thank you enough. You're really pushing this sport to new bounds within North America. We vastly thank you for that. Kilgore, anything else you got for us?
Jason, of course, thank you for coming on here. It's been a lot of fun. It's been great getting to kind of see where things are headed this year. I will just one last time reiterate, of course, what Jager said. Super Lap Battle is the best event. It's got the best cars. It's at the best track. That's why it's the best event. If you can make it out there, if you're thinking about making it out there, if you're on the fence, do it. Doesn't matter what car you have. There are going to be people that you will be competitive with. And this is the best thing about Time Attack as well, right? Like, you can try and be competitive within your class, but you also can just simply be competitive with yourself. That's what we're all out there trying to do, is we're trying to set our own fast lap, beat our own records. And even if you're like 10 seconds behind the guy who's in front of you, when you start setting your own records and you're getting faster, everybody gets excited for you. People will give you high fives, saying like, yeah, you took off another 2 seconds, another 3 seconds, 4 seconds, whatever it is. And people will be excited for you. It doesn't matter. Whatever car you have, bring it out. Of course, as Jason said, for Super Lap Battle, there are some requirements in terms of experience, things like that, right? But if you're an experienced driver, but you're just not sure if your car is going to be competitive, that should be the last thing on your mind, right? Just come out first and have a good time, get a feel for the event. So Jason, of course, thank you for coming on here. Looking forward to seeing you out there at Super Lap Battle throughout the rest of the year. Of course, we will continue to bring you guys updates on the events. We'll do event previews. We'll talk about the events, do event reviews where we talk about who won, who did what. Of course, you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We've also had some people ask about like iHeartRadio podcast. We're working to get that up there, so if you prefer that channel, we're going to try and get that up as well. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. Check out our website, perfectlappodcast.com. You can shoot us any comments or emails at maximumattack@perfectlappodcast.com. That's maximumattack@perfectlappodcast.com. Jason, we'll throw it over to you for any last plugs. Where social medias for you guys? Where can people follow you?
If you search Global Time Attack on any of the socials, you'll find us. YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're very active on Instagram. We're probably the most active on Instagram out of all of them. We're not very active on TikTok, but we have one. And then, of course, YouTube. You want to find Global Time Attack on YouTube, especially April 12th and 13th, because we'll be live streaming that event. You should see Mark Jager there. I'm not sure if we talked about it, but he should be there as our live stream host. Yeah, Kilgore will be there racing, which will be awesome. Super Lap Battle USA is the dedicated website for the SLB COTA event, and globaltimeattack.com, of course, is for the whole series. And if you have any questions about getting signed up, your experience, jd@globaltimeattack.com. Just shoot me an email, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. We'll get you set up. I want to thank Kilgore. I want to thank Jager for having me on the Perfect Lap Podcast. I want to thank everybody at Perfect Lap Podcast and all the viewers and all the listeners out there. Thank you, guys. Go fast or go home.
Hell
That's
yeah.
right. As always, everybody, thank you for listening. For all you time attackers out there, keep pushing, go fast. We'll see you in the next one.